for round 5 of the World Championship in Rhyadr in Wales. Situated in mid-Wales, lovely hilly area, and the people are every bit as lovely. This quiet life is only interrupted really by the obligatory tea breaks. Spectacular scenery. Hosting, of course, the International 6 Days Enduro here in 1983, and a lot of the competitors will still remember the tough battles on that particularly arduous event. We could expect maybe rainy weather here in Rhyadr, but surprisingly enough, the weather is sensational. I wonder if it'll stay like this for the whole of the 2 days. It's going to be pretty tough going, however, with tight constraints on times. If it had have rained, it would have been almost impossible to race here. A good beauty spot, big tourist attraction, Rhyadr, and we're expecting to see a good few spectators out on the stages. Alternative sports available, of course, in Wales, well known. Pretty relaxed atmosphere in the drivers' camp. And the FIM president is introducing there a new sticker which they've put on the frame. They're going to try it after the special test. This is to replace the old paint, really, to stop the riders cheating, maybe changing major components. It's a distinct possibility that this is going to be used on other components for the ISDE in Australia later this year. Right then, 8 o'clock. 3 men per minute go off on the Saturday morning. We've got 156 riders from 13 countries and 3 laps of 55 miles a day. So 155 and a half miles, very difficult area, lots of mud holes and lots of deep, not tank tracks, but a lot of vehicle tracks which are going to make things pretty difficult for the competitors. The stages are very tightly timed, and if you don't get any penalty points, I think the riders can give themselves a badge of merit, because this has promised to be one of the very, very toughest. So far we've been to Hungary, Poland, Portugal, France. This is round 5. France was dry, hard and rocky, apart from those deep mud holes where we saw the drivers disappearing. But Wales promises to be even more arduous. We're going to kick off, however, with the cross-country test and the open stages, and the real battles took place in the dark forests on these very, very deep tyre tracks, but a typical grey slate stone bridge there. Riders through the stream and up for the cross-country test. First of all, the extra test, which is a very fast meadowy track marked out with the tapes. The riders have to thread their way through. It's against the clock as Derek Edmondson, leading the 250cc British Championship on Suzuki, knows this area well. He's an old stager in the world of enduros, elder brother, of course, to the 1990 125cc champ Paul Edmondson. Derek then on Suzuki, flying. Passeri, World Championship leader, on pace for 5th fastest time in this stage. He would have hoped to have gone a little bit better and actually finished up the day 3rd in the 125s. And in the World Championship standings, he is 14 points clear of reigning world champion Jeff Nilsson, Speaker the Devil. Nilsson keeping his Swedish cool and just showing us what a World Championship style is all about. And in this test, oh my goodness me, he got best time in his class, but look at the replay. It could have been a very different story. Nose heavy, tail in the air, and Nilsson stays on. Incredibly lucky. Scavolo is less lucky. Picks himself up though, did the right thing, kept it running, stamped it in gear and off again. Edmondson means business, but luck's not on his side today. A bad day for the former world champion. Had a couple of heavy falls in Poland and Portugal, and he was hurt, and he's having a bad day. He actually retires later in the day, so not a very good Saturday for Edmondson. Runner-up then in the 250s, Hedendal. On target for 4th place. Grasso, however, staying right out at the top, and he's runner-up here behind Feligara. Strangely enough, the World Championship lead has not been selected for the Italian trophy team in Australia, much to the disgust of the tip-top team manager Franco Meyer, who has had a major falling out with the Italian authorities over it. Still, the politics of sport continue to rage on, and even Grasso is not immune from it. Dirk von Zitzenwitz in his first World Championship season, finding out that the World Series is a very different kettle of fish from the German Championship, but I think Zitzenwitz has to be a star for the future. Sala, Championship 500 leader, third in his class today. The 29-year-old KTM rider from Bergamo was third in last year's 250s overall, and if his current form stays and Pellegrinelli, Johnson and co don't mess things up for him, it could be the 500 title for Sala. 26 points out in front he is, so a fair cushion. Sala is immaculate. Not wasting any time, is he? Just flicking it round the tight bits. Next up, Nicole Amando, running third in the World Championship in the 350cc four-stroke class, and he's running third today. Amando thundering round. The four-strokes sound good, don't they? Michael Singer, one of the German team members, and it's remarkable how many of these young Germans attack the World Championship because they see it as the ultimate challenge, and with incredible fighting spirit, but quite often it's the lack of sponsorship that forces them out of their chosen sport. Singer then, undaunted, comes back through the tapes and attacks it again. Englishman John Deacon going well here in Ryder, and he's on target for third place in the 350 class. The Husky driver from Plymouth is on his way, I think, to a star-studded career. Former motocrosser Eric Lejeune from Belgium, and you can see the motocross style coming through. Sadly though, just a bit too aggressive. Third in Hungary, but nothing since. 350 leader Rinaldi on target for the runner-up spot today, and his main opponent Kent Carlson actually clocked in 4 minutes early and therefore dropped back in the championship. Rinaldi then is now out in front on 4 points. Big four-stroke leader Kari Tienen, 250 champion last year. Despite his win today, he said that the circuit was a bit too tough. Doesn't look tough at the moment, does it? But what he meant by that, we'll show you later. Katranak, top form, going for runner-up spot in the 500s. Had to retire in France with engine problems on the Hussabird, and is now standing number 3 in the championship. Farioli out in front of the championship lead. The Italians have been absolutely superb in the 1992 series. Third place today for Farioli. His winning streak was stopped in Hungary because he crashed in a big way. We're going to now take a look out at the open stages on this spectacular Welsh countryside, the scene of many, many Enduro events. This is better going, but the times, I beg your pardon, times are much tighter. The drivers really have to get the throttle pegged back and go hard. You can see how dry it's been here in recent days. Not too often you see dust in Wales. I think it's going to be a case really of ride as hard as they can to avoid getting penalty points, which are of course awarded for losing time against the clock. Real sheep country this. A few cattle out there as well, but back into the woods. Riders closing up, and they're catching up now with the smaller class. And speaking of the smaller class, got Valbus, runner up in the 80s and number 4 in the World Championship. Derek Edmondson had a heavy fall in the morning and knocked himself a bit silly, suspected broken collarbone. Here he's going well though, but a bad day for him. Passeri fell off as well, broke a rib and dropped to runner up in the rankings. Now whether he's going to be able to ride in Scandinavia is entirely the doctor's choice. Listel also had a bad fall somewhere in the forest and took a while to get back in the groove, but he's back in the groove here. This stream, there's only one way through it, and that's straight up the middle. Very slippery with the big stones hidden under there. Nilsson, however, doing just fine on his way to what we think, and I hope you share our opinion, could well be second consecutive 125cc championship. Trussardi getting a move on. Looking like the Trussardi we know, 5th in the world at the moment, on target for 4th. He's the mountain expert from Giussoni in Italy, but he's going to have to pull his finger out to move up the championship table. Feligara leading the list with Grasso. joint leader. His main opponent, Pozledny, came third today, so Feligara. But everything is hunky-dory for Grasso, thundering through the stream, looking supremely confident. If his success keeps going, he could be sure of winning this title. And how ridiculous the man hasn't even been chosen to represent his country. Sven-Erik Jonsson was a bit handicapped earlier on, but his favourite Scandinavian circuits, Finland and Sweden, still to come. And he's only 26 points behind Sala in the overall standings. Phil Cannon and Tullio Pellegrinelli rockets past. Charlie Bahia flicks it nicely over there. Has become a first-rate rider in these stage conditions. Bahia from Austria. One of the small elite drivers without penalty points. Savento, the Finn, running on 5th in the 350cc 4-stroke category. Spectators love it. End of the first day then. Vrobel, the Pole, out there on top of the 80s. Rossi could do no better than third, the 1-2-5s. The Czech leading from the two Italians. Nilsson could do no better than second, but still out in front of the championship stewards. Feligara, Grasso, and Pozledny, the Czech. 500s, Pellegrinelli, Sven-Erik Jonsson, Giovanni Sala. And now the big 4 strokes of 350s. First of all, Rinaldi, runner-up spot. John Deacon, a brilliant ride to third in day 1. Tienan, Katrinak, Farioli. Join us after the break for part 2 from Mid-Wales. Welcome back to round 5 of the World Enduro Championship from Ryder in Mid-Wales, and we're going straight into the notorious kart tracks and the mud stages which made things so very difficult for the riders yesterday. There were loads of penalty points dished out, and we're going to show you some of the reasons why. Wouldn't want to collect one of those trees on the way through, would you? Into the deep, dark forest. Now, thanks to modern camera technology, it looks as bright as day here, but believe you me, it is very murky indeed, and Listel taking it fairly steadily through here. Listel not too impressed. And then more so depressed than Lindholm, who is well and truly stuck. And this is how soft it is, you see. For about 9 months of the year, this area is subjected to pretty heavy rain, and that doesn't go away overnight. The sun can't penetrate these trees, so it is very, very soft. The ground's boggy and is mud. And of course the time is ticking by. Serranols, the Spaniard, he's used to stony tracks. This is totally foreign, if you'll pardon the expression, to Serranols. And I think he's going to need some help to get out of there. It's the expertise, I think, of the British riders, and in fairness, the Germans and the Scandinavians, who pick their way through this very difficult going. This is peculiar. Well, Joel Midson is a name that I know quite well, having competed against his father in the 60s. Midson stalled it. Evans then even worse off. The Englishman should be used to this ground from the British Championship, but some of them, as I was saying earlier, are better at it than others. Anders Eriksson, he gets through without too much trouble. Obviously been doing his homework. Won't have had time to walk the course, that's for sure, if indeed he had the inclination to walk the course. Richard Hay shows his experience that he's gained from the British Championship, some of which will have been run across this going. And sometimes the place not to go is the place which would appear to be the most obvious route to take. Feligara gets through the spot with the experience of an old hand, I think, but with the benefit of hindsight, I can tell you that he fell later on and broke his collarbone, so Feligara, a not too happy day. Pozledny looking good. Steve Baker goes for the disastrous track, but it's not the only mud hole. The forest is covered with them, and he's just picked one of many, I have to say. The back wheel's well and truly in. and the crankcase sitting firmly on the bank at the exit. However, with a bit of help from his friend, he's out. Giorgio Grasso does really well, and you can see from these pictures why Grasso is really up among the top notchers in his chosen sport. Nixon doesn't keep to the route and gets through the ditch, only to throw it away, and I'm sure he'll forgive my chuckling at that point, but it seemed that he was going so well, only to toss it away. Oh, and that was deep. That is very, very deep. But he's through. The Czech then struggled through there. Charlie Bayer decides to go the wrong way, sadly. And next behind him, we're looking for the German. Benjamin Pfefferle, the 500 German, who also picks that way. Now he's got his light on, which illustrates just how dark it is in the forest, and you can see how bright that light is. It's very murky there indeed. Joachim Johansson not doing much better on the other side, looking despairingly for a bit of outside assistance, all of which is perfectly acceptable in this sport of enduro. Don't forget, these riders will have finished 150 miles on each of the 2 days, and this is physically draining, having to do this sort of going. But out and away. Pellegrinelli then. He's got the same thoughts as Charlie Bayer, but he's going to have a go at it. And that's that hole. It's getting deeper with every bike that goes in. Pellegrinelli knows that he has to lift the bike out physically. It's no good spinning the wheel, because all that will do is dig a hole deeper. Yimink gives him a good tug. Although both of these are fighting for the top of the 500cc championship, just look at that. What a tremendously sporting gesture from Gerard Yimink, who lifted his arch competitor out. Brilliant stuff. Pellegrinelli en route for runner-up spot today. Pieter Geluk, he's got a lot to learn. The front end went in, so struggling there, the Dutch junior.
Please help me. No camera.
He's got a lot of manners to learn as well, not keen on being photographed. Geluk. Arnaldo Cabas dodging the mud, but ends up on an equally difficult ditch. Now how do you get across there? Well, sort of like that. That's tough going. That is really, really, really tough going. Wood really sorting everyone out here. Konyar too struggling through that ditch again, the front wheel gone in. Frustration is pretty evident here, I think. Karl-Heinz Holtz. Oh, running across, but no, not the way to do it apparently. But a good, brave effort. Kari Tiainen almost missed the ditch. Tiainen then stopped right on the brink. Everybody thought that was worth a second look. Oh, that's the way to do it. Pick the front up beautifully across. The fin, absolutely excellent. Now let's take a look then out on the next stage. A few impressions of some slimy, never-ending tracks. Listel again, still motoring in the trees. Oh, I suppose the way to do it is get on the bike. That's the thing to do, but it is just so difficult. Fossati frustrated, but forcing on. These tracks threatening to throw you right and left, and always those trees just lurking there. Hedendahl getting his best result so far this season with runner-up in the 250s today, back out in the sunshine. In the world rankings, he could well be on for second place as well. Another deep, deep hole. The engine absolutely revving its heart out, not to mention the clutch. Sala, invincible. 500cc win again today. 17 points clear then he moves ahead of Pellegrinelli. The German collected penalty points and actually dropped back to 9th position. Alan Bates, however, is 8th. Might be behind him in the race, but he's ahead of him in the points. Sven-Erik Jonsson made a dramatic mistake in the cross-country test and is only in 4th place. And they're heading on their way home. And of course, when they get back in the Scandinavian woods, then we're going to see a very different story from the Swedes and indeed the Finns. Lejeune doing things in the most illogical way. Big Bill Anderson almost getting it wrong there. There's Bill. Cleanly through. Oh, that's great stuff. Karl-Heinz Holtz out into the sunshine onto the open stony tracks, the forestry tracks, very much what the Welsh enduro scene is made of. The race course, a simple meadows course, fast and long, and didn't really give us too much excitement. So the end of the second day results, ADCC's Rossi out in front, the Czech Wojciechowska leading the 125s, Nilsson again in runner-up spot with Paul Edmondson, who came out on the second day for 3rd. Edmondson, that will be Derek Edmondson, a mistake in the caption there. 500, Sala, Pellegrinelli and Podmol. 350cc 4-strokes, Deacon, Rinaldi and Kotraba. 500 4-strokes, Tienem, Katranak and Farioli. What a superb Welsh event it's been.